Here we go. Good morning, everybody. Today's Friday, and today's cup is an Alley Cats cup. I believe somebody won it for me while playing video games, one of my sons. Great to see you on a Friday morning. Today we have a very special guest. This is Ella Morrow. Ella has appeared in several films and theater productions, starting her acting career at the young age of 3. She studied on both coasts while growing her love of travel. And something's in my way here. Hold on one second. When not on set, you can find Ella on stage uh, with her band rocking out on the vocals or playing the keys. Welcome, Ella Morrow.
Hi, thanks for having me.
And do you have a cup today? This
Yes,
morning? Doesn't
I
have to
have.
have doesn't have to have
Oh,
coffee. Could have tea. Could have water. Anything you need. And it
oh, that's
says,
exactly it.
"Girls do it better." Is that right?
Yeah, yes.
Perfect. How's your day been?
Pretty good. How is yours?
Oh, it's working out fantastically. The kids are getting off early today, so I'm going to have a busy afternoon for the rest of the afternoon. But up until now, it's been going swimmingly. Now,
Nice.
uh, I see from your IMDb page that you worked on Grave Roots of Evil.
Yes.
And I've seen a few pictures that your mother's posted on the Facebook of you in other horror settings. Are you
Yeah.
trying to be are you going to grow up to be a scream queen? Is that the goal?
Yeah, I really think so. It's funny because originally, like when I first started acting, I obviously didn't really expect to go in the horror route, but I was in an acting class and I got like a little horror monologue and I was like, okay, I kind of love this. And so, and then I want to say like a month or two later, I got my first audition after, kind of falling out of love for acting a while. So I decided to go for it. And it was a horror film. And so I auditioned and I got the role, and then from that point on, I've just been in love with the horror genre.
There's something about playing against who you really are. I know you and your mom, you're
Yeah.
just sweethearts and adorable and godly women. But to be in there and to experience the darkness of a character, sometimes
Yeah.
invaded by an earthly spirit, and to get to play that is a little bit liberating, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And I also have I don't find things funny, so for me, acting in the comedy genre is also a little bit challenging because I like I said, I don't find things funny, so delivering the lines is like I'm like, okay, I kind of have to ask my mom, what is that joke supposed to be? Because I don't get it. It's not funny to me.
That's got to be hard then, because a lot of people like to write comedy into horror.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So you've also spent some time behind the scenes as well. I see you've worked in the camera department. You even directed one episode of Vid, or 2 episodes of Vid Chronicles.
Yes. Yeah, so I'm very fortunate and blessed to be able to, work behind the scenes as well as in front of the camera. And I think that's really important for people because, being in front of the camera, but also being behind it allows you to understand everybody's role within the film industry. Like, so if I'm an actor, I understand when I'm on screen, I'm understanding what the DP is thinking. I'm understanding what the sound guy is thinking. I'm understanding what, the ACs, the PAs, the, ADs, anyone. I'm understanding what they're going through as well as me myself. So I think that's just a really important thing that everyone should try to get involved with.
And I always find that each department has their own lingo for different things.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's if you don't know what they're saying, you don't know about how long you're going to be sitting there waiting for something to happen.
Right, and that's another thing I've learned is, like, learning all the lingo and, like so when I'm sitting here, like, waiting for them to roll, I'm like, "Oh, I understand what's going on now because I've been in their position and I understand what they're kind of talking about." So it's really nice.
And it I think you might want to find some humor in that too. I mean, if the director thinks something's going to take 5 minutes and the lead grip is trying to explain to him what he's trying to accomplish or what he's asking for is going to take a whole lot longer.
Right.
You know, you're hearing what he's saying in the lingo, and the director's like, well, can't you just use some tape?
Right. Right, yeah. Sometimes people are so clueless about other people's positions, which I think is another reason why it's so important to get involved with everything.
And earlier this week I spoke with Nathan Myers, who has the Fort Worth Actors Studio, and he was talking about how he tells his students to learn the other departments because it makes you that much more valuable. Oftentimes, life gets in the way, um, and somebody will wind up being shorthanded. And if you know what to do, you can keep everybody on schedule, and then you're a godsend.
Yeah, for sure. And Fort Worth Actor Studio is actually one of my favorite acting studios, probably my favorite that I've ever studied with because, they teach things that aren't just like, okay, like you don't look at the camera whenever you're acting. They teach things more in depth and they have just such a way of, teaching that actually with a purpose.
And doesn't it get a little harder now? You learn to not look at the camera. You learn to look around the camera, but then somebody asks you to be in an interview, and then you've got to look straight in the camera, and it feels so awkward and unusual to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I've definitely noticed that. And like where I am right now, I'm currently at Gemini. It's a company I work for. They make educational content for kids with special needs or learning disabilities. And for that, we actually start off looking at the camera and then I go into my, scene that I'm doing. So that was also really weird because it's like, okay, Ella, you're going to look at the camera and smile and then you'll do your scene. And I'm like, wait, what? That is really odd.
So it's a brand new experience.
For sure. For sure.
And let's see, your mom and I talked the other day. We were talking about that one film, Eyes of a Roman, and the pictures that they had for you, because the studios don't want to give too much away, uh, showed you as a slave. However, your mother brought out this costume of you in warrior form. So I'm starting to guess that maybe your character has a little bit of a heroic journey itself.
Yeah, for sure. Eliana, she's the girl that I play in Eyes of a Roman. She is very, I think she starts off, she's like 12 years old. And so to play 12 years old, I was 15, 16 at the time that this was filmed. Um, and so it wasn't much of a change because she's still she learns to be independent. She's growing in her own, her own body, her own mindset. I don't want to give too much away, so I'm trying not to do that. But, things her life and she has to learn um, how to be content with herself and how to you know live for herself. And so that was a really cool character to portray because I think it also taught me a lot within my own life in some way. And so I think that was just it was overall just a great film to be on.
And do you know right about when that's going to be released?
We actually have our premiere for it in November, so it should be soon.
Wow. So this is perfect
Yeah.
timing.
Yes.
Now well, tell me about the character you play in Roots of Evil, Bryce.
Yeah, so that was a really fun also film to be on because they're kind of more in a way they're like fighters. I don't want to also give too much away, but I got to have my little spy moment, which is really fun because I've always wanted to do that. I grew up watching like Spy Kids, so I really enjoyed that being in the all black. It was really fun. So I think that was yeah, that was definitely one of my favorites for sure because it's such different than what I normally play.
It looks like it's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a
Uh,
action adventure.
for sure, for sure.
And what else is coming up?
I'm working on a little horror movie. So that'll be fun. I've also got what else do I got going on? One of my movies, Killer Rivalry, came out in April, I want to say. That was such a fun experience
Uh
because
huh.
I got to play a professional college volleyball player, and I actually got to be buried in sand. And I can say that because it was in the trailer without giving too much away. But they buried me in sand, the sand volleyball court. So they actually did it. It was no special effects. So I was actually buried in the sand. Um, and that was super cool because, like, when are you ever going to be buried in sand? So they dug a hole to my body, like my body length, and that was super fun. And then I've also got Brutal Brainwash that should be coming out anytime soon. Um, that's really fun. It's kind of about a cult. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm trying to think what else I could say without giving away, but that was so fun. I met so many great girls on that set, and we had so much fun together. On screen, off screen. We had to do some little party scenes, so that was fun. We were dancing around to music. But yeah, I think that's all I've got coming out recently, but that I can say.
Uh huh. And um, you were in Run Hide Fight.
Yes. So that
Now,
was
how
really, yeah. We were on that set. I want to say 3 months. I got to work, in the hostages of the people. If you don't know what Run Hide Fight's about, it's kind of about a school shooting. So these kids come in and they're like, obviously doing the school shooting. And so I was sitting, you know, being held hostage. And that was just a really fun environment to be on because, you know, off of takes when they weren't rolling, I could watch these main characters get into their headspace. And it was such a cool learning experience because the way that the actors prepared themselves for what was going on, being it's such a heavy topic, I feel like I learned a lot from that about you know, getting to be in my own characters. But yeah,
mm-hmm.
that was so fun. I met so many great people on that as well.
And you always find yourself getting closer and closer to that line that people cross where they go, where did this person come from? But you have to work, so hard to get to that one discovery moment. I see here that you worked with a lot of really awesome folks in 12 Mighty Orphans.
Yes. So that was really fun. I got to be the set in general was so cool to be on. I think it was only like 10 minutes away from my house, so that's great. Didn't have to drive too far. But the set, they built it to be like the homeless tents and, like the homeless village. And so that was really fun because it was such a different change of scenery than what I'm used to. Um, like normally I'll see like time period sets or like, modern. And so to see that was really cool too because I got to see how the homeless people kind of lived back then, especially. And the way that they rigged the cameras was so cool because specifically one of the scenes I did, they had this huge like crane with the camera way on top, and then they were like doing all this type of action. So that was a really fun learning experience too, as far as the camera side.
Did you get to ride the crane?
No, I wish that would have been such. That would have been so. That's like a dream come true for me.
That would be so awesome. That is so 1920s silent film era. German director stuff, sitting up there with the crane and the camera, yelling "Action,
Yeah,
MOS." You know.
and not to mention all of the old cars we saw on that set. Like when he was running through the homeless village with his car. Well, I shouldn't say driving through the homeless village with his car. It was such a beautiful old car, and that was so cool because my grandpa loves old cars like that. So that was cool.
And it makes a difference to an actor when you're able to see, the real deal, the real old cars, the real set pieces, the things
Yeah.
that have that age to it. I mean, a lot can be done with green screen and special effects, and they most likely extended some of that set to be bigger for more dynamic wide shot. But at that point, with the cars rolling by and the dust coming up from the ground, and it makes you feel like you're in that era, that time period.
Right. And like same thing with Eyes of a Roman. Like when I was reading it on paper, I was like, okay, she's like, growing to find herself and I could kind of understand my character. But when we got on set, I was actually second AD on that film as well. So um, we went with the whole kind of main type of crew and we like scouted all the locations at the land. And so to even just see that was so cool because I was able, like, as an actor, to be able to be like, oh, so that's where that's going to take place. Oh, you mean like I'm sitting on a log by the river during the scene? That is so cool. And then obviously, to toot my mom's horn, um, the wardrobe, it pulled it all together for me because, with my mom being the designer, I kind of got to have a say in my own wardrobe, and that was really cool as well because I felt
Mhm.
more like
So if you had to pick a genre to be pigeonholed in, you've got you've got your time period pieces, you've got your modern day uh, teen drama type thing happening, or the horror genre. Which one would you pick to be to live in for the rest of your life?
I've got to say, no surprise, but horror thriller because there's so many different things that can go on type of well, there's really all different types of things that can go on within a type of genre, but the horror specifically, I feel like you can portray so many different characters within that one little genre, which I think is why I love it so much because I love being able to go into the toolbox that I have in my mind and like pull out different tools that, each character would need.
Hmm. Hmm. And there's some lasting power in being a scream queen. I mean, coming back to Roots of Evil, you got to work with Felissa Rose,
Yeah.
and
So,
she's got a great pedigree in horror.
right. Yeah, I think it's just so empowering at times too. Like, like sometimes you get to be a female, like, and kick some butt. So I think that's really empowering.
Yeah, and I see you worked with Sherry Davis as well, that was in here. There's a lot of really talented people in the film.
Yeah, I'm so blessed and so fortunate. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Anything else you want to tell us about that won't get you in trouble with production teams?
I don't know. I think I'm going to be producing one of my own films soon. So that's a little fun and super different.
Fantastic. Is
Yeah.
it something you've written yourself?
Yes. So I've written before, and people have been like, Ella, you should do it. And I've, never really wanted to per se, but I had a realization recently, and I was like, I'm going into my senior year of high school. Um, it's kind of time for change, figure out, different things in life. And so that was kind of a realization moment I had. And so I'm doing it.
Is it going to be a horror movie?
You guessed it. It's like a horror. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. One of the first things I tried to produce when I decided to get into acting and filmmaking was a horror movie. And actually, the first thing I wanted to do was a comedy called Attack of the Killer Squirrel.
The killer
But
squirrel.
in order to build up to that, I wound up writing a web series called Rainbow Falls, and I tried to get that going off the ground. Everything just collapsed under its own weight. It was just way too ambitious. I should have just made the squirrel movie.
I would still love to see the squirrel movie. That sounds fun.
But we did wind up shooting three small shorts in the Rainbow Falls series that had nothing to do with the squirrel or any of the main characters that were supposed to have a through line through it. I worked with Ike Duncan as a director on one of the shorts, and he was phenomenal. And it's there seems to be a whole lot of camaraderie. Everybody who works on a horror film wants to see the end product. They're making it so that they can watch it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And like the thing with doing my own film too, um, it's so cool to have the freedom to like cast whoever you want, work with whoever you want. So like I've already got all my favorite people and the people that I look up to most going on with it, and I'm just so grateful that they're like oh my gosh, they want to work with me. Like I feel over the moon excited to, have them want to work for me.
It's definitely a blessing to earn the respect of your peers,
For
and
sure.
you wouldn't have gotten that if you didn't do some hard work in front of and behind the scenes. So
Right.
kudos to you on that.
Thank you.
So when do you think you're going to start production on this horror film that we will not name?
We've quite have pushed it back a lot. I think we were gonna film in like June and then we were gonna film like this fall, but I think, school got insanely crazy and, I have so many other projects I'm working on. So I'm kind of thinking maybe 2023. We're in pre-production right now, so I want to make sure everything is fully like set to go, and then it just makes it easier over time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Well, good for you. Good going. I wish you luck in that.
Thank you.
I hope that it turns out fantastic. I hope you get all kinds of distribution and film festival awards and everything else that comes with working super hard. Because I know you're going to do that. You and your mom are just going to blow everybody away with what you put together.
Thank you so much. That means a lot.
And thanks for being on. And let me just do this real quick, and we'll close out the show. This episode was brought to you by DMRhosting.com. Their business plan boasts unlimited data storage, unlimited data transfer, antivirus, and spam protection, along with 24/7, 365 support via chat or phone for all $4 for only $4.45 a month. Get started today with a 30-day free trial at dmrhosting.com. That's dmrhosting.com. Ella, thanks again for being here. I really appreciate you coming on and talking with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such an opportunity. I'm so grateful.
All right. Well, thanks a lot. And everybody else, you have yourselves a great day.